Hey everyone, this is smpratte, and today we're going to talk about the modern Japanese crisis. I know that sounds a little bit dramatic, but what's going on right now in Japan is nothing short of chaos. They are experiencing an unprecedented supply shortage, and Pokemon's recent solution to this problem is to remove any business's account that sells overseas. Before it was like, yeah, okay, if you're international, you can't buy directly from us. Where now, it doesn't matter if you have a registered company there, if you're fluent in the language, if you're a citizen, if your family has been there for centuries. They don't care who you are, where you're from, what you did, as long as you don't sell overseas. This is by far one of the biggest misses I've ever seen in all of Pokemon. Like, Japan just scored an own goal. Like, they just face planted and head the ball into their own nets. This is going to do nothing but exacerbate the issue. This is just adding fuel to the fire. So if you aren't aware how bad it is right now in Japan, some people that were at World just recently popped into a Pokemon Center and there were no packs available. Like, none. A lot of the businesses I've been friends with now for decades over in Japan, they have to wait in line to do a lottery just to get the new set. The only answer here, just to save you time, is to print more product. That's it. That's the only answer. There's no other solution to a supply shortage except add more supply. That's it. Right now, it's on E. The fuel is on empty. Japan is just NOS boosting and Tokyo drifting around, and they're just going to wreck the engine because that's not what you want to do. The only solution is, like, if your car is out of fuel, you don't say, okay, I'm not going to drive anymore. I'm not going to drive overseas. You just get more fuel. That is the only solution here. But we're going to break down how this reaction that Japan's having to this crazy new demand, is going to just exacerbate it, starting with the fact that they're bottlenecking legitimate outlets. So when they're removing accounts, what that means is they're going to nuke any business that sells overseas, which I don't know how they do that. Like, Pokemon's like Sauron. They like, oh, did you sell to an overseas address? You're out of here. But what that's going to do is just bottleneck the legitimate outlets. So all these places are still actual businesses who now have to throw their old route out in Mercari or whatever to buy supply. And there's only a few people who now have this direct relationship. And because they're handcuffed to not sell overseas, it actually increases the price in FOMO even more. So what I mean by that is, if these legitimate businesses are like, oh, okay, you guys who might be another legitimate business buying secondhand or flipper, whoever it may be, you're buying from me and then selling it over there for like twice what I'm selling it. So I'm just going to raise my price to that. And that's exactly what you're seeing right now, live, as of recording. Some of the outlets, which I'll give you here on a platter, Plaza Japan and some of these places that people used to buy from that were cheaper and very competitive, and they had a direct line, and they would sell stuff at competitive rates because they'd have thousands of boxes or whatever it may be. They're selling new sets like 151 at $175. Like, thanks for coming. Like, that's more expensive than some of the prices on eBay, which makes no sense. But why are they doing that? Because they see, oh yeah, you guys are taking this from me at 50 to 60 or 70 or whatever it may be, and you're flipping it for double the price, so I'm just going to double the price. So this really doesn't solve the issue not only of selling overseas, but more importantly, the pricing issue as well. These brand new sets, Japanese sets especially, and modern as a whole, boxes are basically like packs. Like a WotC pack back in the day is almost like a modern box in the sense that, like, there's so many big hits you need to get now. You can't just buy one box, to get a set. Like, this right here might get me like 2 secret rares, if that. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many cards to pull now that you need to have even more quantity. You can't just do like, oh, here's your fossil box that's going to knock out like 70% of the set for you in one go. That's not how it works anymore. So you have so many layers that compound into this, like this bottleneck idea that Pokemon is choosing to do. It just has so many layers to it that are just going to worsen because of that. You need to really spread it out. And this idea of spreading out this availability is nothing new. If we go back to like evolutions, for example, one of the big paradigms you saw back then was English boxes are like $90 to $100 for a long time. Where over in Europe at that same point, they were like triple or quadruple the price, because it was really hard to get that overseas. You had to import it, and with all the duties and everything, it really increased the cost basis. So once you had more of a distribution over there, the prices came down. So you get the idea of Pokemon spreading and adding more supply and distribution chains is going to lower the price. You really need this ecosystem for new product. You need to have Pokemon to distributor, retailer to customer. That's how it should flow. And it should flow steadily. I'm at the point where if we have an abundance of fuel, that's okay. Just let it chill. Like, we can chill with that. We have options now. When you have low fuel like this, you have no options. You're walking down the road with your thumb out, like, can someone help me out here? Like, that's what a lot of people are doing. And these people who are hitchhiking now are legitimate businesses. Like, Pokemon for real was like, hey, here you go, flippers. We're going to give you a bunch of first round draft picks for future considerations. You're going to get all these legitimate companies who have been around for decades. Like, some of the people I'm talking about here have been around forever. Like, they've sold every card, they bought every set from a distributor for decades. They were doing this stuff when Pokemon wasn't cool. They were buying and selling, and Pokemon just didn't care. With this Thanos snap, they were out of there. So this isn't it. Like, this is not the answer. And we actually have a rare English win to show you how it's done. Back in 2020, this little guy right here, for some reason, was making people lose their minds. Like, you had like middle-aged men like just tackling one another in a Walmart aisle to get one of these boxes. And it got up to like $100-ish. Still less than what these are going for right now. Still less, which is crazy. So these got up to like 100-ish. And then what happened? Pokemon was like, okay, this is a little out of hand. We need to do something about it. So they went and bought more printers. And sure enough, fast forward today, what's this box go for? $40 to $50. How is a box 3 years old now? I think it's about 3 years old. Almost 3 years old. How is it going for less than what it was 3 years ago? How is that possible? The only answer is more supply. Like, bold, italicized, underlined, 72 font, put it up there next to your Spice Girls poster. Like, that is the answer. More supply is the only answer for this. I'm all about the balance. If you watch some of my ancient videos when I was a little bit more cringe than I am now, I talked about how you need a balance. You don't want to have Beanie Babies. You don't want to have oversaturation. However, you do want to be closer to the full side of your fuel gauge. Like, you want to have options. Obviously, you don't want to just print to where there's nothing left, but you need to get it back down to a reasonable rate. Like, you're at a point now when you're spending $175 again on a box that you might get your one hit, right, that you need. It's just not feasible. Like, most of the sets that I went through, even like early modern era, wherever we draw that line, like X, Y, or somewhere in there, you could still open your sets, right? You could still open most of it, maybe just get the last couple cards to finish it. Where today, it's like, when you're talking $175 a box, and those are your cheap options, in Japan. So I cannot overstate how this is doing nothing but adding fuel to the flame. Like, Japan is aware of what's going on, and I think they see the noise maybe overseas, and they misconstrue it and have a reaction to it rather than sitting down and be like, okay, let's just unload the printers. Like, let's just hydro pump this stuff. Like, let's get it out there as much as we can, because that eliminates all of it. That's what eliminated the middle-aged men tackling each other at Walmart. When you decrease the margin and opportunity, when you eliminate, that shortage of supply, it removes the ability to scalp. It removes the ability to flip. Again, it's all there in the answer. Print more supply. That's it. It's all there. All the answers are there. It just does what it needs to do. You just get the supply out there, and it takes care of itself. Because how do you flip a product that's available all the time? Can't do it. It's no secret. I'm stating, like, water's wet today, guys. Like, fire's hot. So yeah, you need more supply. That's the only answer. All this is going to do is just bottleneck legitimate outlets. These other companies now, one of the things I would tell people who were worried about, reseals or whatever it was, one of the things I would always say is, yeah, guys, I know plenty of people in Japan who are buying directly, and I would be like, yeah, this guy buys directly, or I could hook people up. I used to be that dude stateside, and now all these guys are like on the flipper squad because they don't have a choice. Because Pokemon cut them and like, yep, you sold overseas, so see you later. So yeah, this is just not it. Like, all it's going to do is compound the issues that already exist, and you don't want to see it. If anything, this is such a great product, that people are so excited about it. Just print more of it. That's all it takes. And the only downside to any of this, if you had to think of one, when there is more supply, or just for speculators or people investing, which ultimately that's not really a downside. I've always said, give me another run of EV Heroes. Give me another run of V-Star Universe. I was saying that from the jump. I'm like, yeah, we need more of this. Why? Because it's a good set. Because after all this hype, FOMO, and all that stuff goes away, all this temporary stuff, now it moves at light speed. Remember the modern bubble we were talking about 2 months ago that's now popped? Remember that? That's how fast things move. And that's why fundamentals are so important. That's why I beat a dead horse about it with older, rare, mint, or better. It's not that it's a universal law. It's just a truth that is held true throughout all collectibles. It's just a fundamental thing. And that's why ultimately, if you're worried about, I want to buy these to make money and there's more of them coming out, it's going to hurt my, my big brain investment. No, if it's a good set, it'll be fine. If you had another print wave of EV Heroes, it would be fine because it's a good set. If you have another print wave 151, it'll be fine because it's a good set. Evolution's had how many print waves? And it's more than fine. Why? Because it's a good set. So the fundamentals do matter. The fundamentals reign out no matter what the crazy market conditions are, no matter what the crazy reaction from Japan is on all this stuff. It's the fundamentals are what keep us going at the end of the day. You know, that's what you should come back to here with this, is just that more supply is the only answer. It's not some convoluted reaction to try and like cut out anyone who's selling overseas. To me, it just blows my mind that a company even thinks that. Like, I just don't know why. I guess in their mind, like, okay, if we eliminate anyone who does this, it's just stay in Japan. It's like, no, those people are just going to buy and flip overseas. It's a huge opportunity. You guys make a good product that the world likes. Like, just embrace it, print more of it. Everybody's happy. There you go. That's what I got on the modern Japanese crisis. As usual, guys, hopefully this was useful, entertaining. You know the deal. Let me know how I feel. That's pretty much it. Till next time.